Hey everyone, this week I read Article 19 titled The Current State of the School Mathematics Curriculum. The chapter started out by comparing a GPS in the Google Maps to the curriculum. He gave a story about he was going somewhere and he was using both, but they gave him different pathways. One was like back roads, the other was the interstate, and he was more familiar with the interstate, but he took the back road route just to get a different scenery. And he just compared that to the curriculum because it takes us on new paths, whether we're familiar with them or not. Following that, it went into curriculum is like building roads. So we have our engineers or the people who writes the curriculum. They build the road. We have our curriculum supervisors. Those are our travel agents, the people who plan the trips on the road. And then you have teachers. These are our bus drivers, and our students are our passengers, and we're taking them on the trip, and we're deciding like which locations we want to stop at. And sometimes this can be based on what your district says, what your school says, and sometimes it can be based on what you feel is important. Following that, it just goes into like how mathematics is one of the most consistent subjects. Like if you go to biology in ninth grade, the teacher can assume that you know certain things, but when you go to math in ninth grade, the teacher can assume that you know how to do certain things because of previous grade levels. But it also talks about that it still has its differences, even though it's more consistent than the other subjects. Following this, it just kind of went into the different conflicts with mathematics, and that's because there are different assumptions. So, like in a certain type of geometry, you have triangles equals 180, but in another one, triangles don't add up to equal 180 degrees, and that's just because you're looking at it from a different lens. And then these assumptions, these conflicts, are talked about in four different ways, which was the first one is conflicting views of what is appropriate school mathematics, conflicting beliefs about the purpose of schooling and the roles of the teacher, differing views of past and current mathematics education reform efforts, and the last one is the difficulty of deciding which curriculum is better or best. And then when it talked about the conflicting views, it first started with just which is more important, pure or abstract mathematics versus applied mathematics. And then it went into like deduction versus induction versus statistical inference. So again, where should the emphasis be placed on, and on like which one of those proofs, if you want to call them that. Third one in this set was from algorithms to creative problem solving. Again, which one should have most emphasis? Should it be the algorithms or should it be the creative problem solving? Went into fluency versus fluency. So like saying that fluency is important without people wanting to like skip over the reasoning of the problems and just making sure like when you do fluency, we're making sense of the problems. Culture free versus culture dependent. So should we include one's culture in it because mathematics is universal? And then last one was hard versus easy, and like it really focused on is technology making it easier, and taking away like the sense making of it. But I feel like with technology, it's an enhancer. It shouldn't do the work for you. It kind of should just help you. At least that's what I tell my students because the calculator is as smart as the person putting the information in. So we're working on perfect squares. If they put in -5 squared, they get -25 because of order of operations, not understanding that you need those grouping symbols. Following that was conflicting beliefs about the purpose of schooling. So this just kind of talks about so conflicting beliefs about the purpose of schooling and the roles of the teacher. So this kind of made me think about teaching mathematics for social justice. Like I know that's something we talked about in class, and it made me think about that because it's like questioning what's important, what's not important, what they should focus on, why parents send their kids to school or why they homeschool because they don't want them to talk about different religions or different beliefs, even though we know no matter where you go, you're going to be exposed to things. But it just kind of went into that. So it kind of just makes you think like some schools want you, like the district I'm in, they are probably more opposed to putting certain things in the curriculum. And it's probably going to be a battle if you want to put in teaching mathematics for social justice based off of like if you go somewhere else and teach. Following that, talked about different views of past and current mathematics education reform efforts. That just talked about like again what one it's kind of pretty much preference. So like a lot of things are based off of what one believes, and not necessarily not necessarily stats. And that's what the next one goes into also, the difficulty of deciding which curriculum is better or best. Overall, it just says the district goes based on state or self, and then decisions usually made based on textbooks. But it also goes into decision on belief, not evidence, because the treatments could have different goals. So, like, they don't go based off of evidence because one school or teacher could differ in many ways. So, what they may feel is important, that's what they'll focus on from the curriculum, but somebody else may see something else being important, and that's what they'll focus on. So, overall, it's just saying, like, should focus on what you want, your preference, and I think that's where the conflict comes in because it's no one set and no one can really determine what's good, what's bad because everyone has their own personal beliefs. Thank you.